Let me get started. Hey, everybody, this is Sherry Ferguson with the Portland Chamber of Commerce, and we are here again with our Portland Connections. We're talking to one of our favorites today, Mayor Callis. He is
Hey
always
guys.
great to be here with us and to give us a lot of good information. And not to give him a big head or anything, I talked to a lot of people in a lot of other cities, and they have really talked good things about Mayor Callis and what he's updating on and how he's giving us some great information. So, Mayor Callis, we are lucky to have you leading us through this.
Well, listen, I've been thinking a lot of other leaders, and nobody signed up for a pandemic,
Nope.
and it's caused us to. There's been a lot of good come out of it, a lot of tragedy, loss of life, and people hurting. Uh, I had uh, I had no sagging, no wrinkles, no gray hair when all this. I had hair, now it's all fell out. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, but a lot of people have been working their way through that, and they've learned a lot about themselves. Um, Learn a lot about how to be a little bit more efficient. We have here in the city as well. We were having some good conversations about. We realized we were able to do some things that we didn't know we could do until we were put in a position to make it happen. So, try to count the positives through it all, and we'll see. Trying to, and I know it's the coronavirus is still active. I get that, but my wife and I, we had it. It looked like a normal Sunday, a Memorial Day weekend Sunday in May of 2019. We went to Sunday school, we went to service, we went and had Mexican, we went to Old Time Pottery, and it was like, hey, it kind of looked normal around here a little bit this past Sunday. So that was good. So,
Yes, I tell you, it is. It's hard to get back in that normal. I know we don't start church until June the 7th, so I'm very excited about that. We received a video on how we're to enter the church and going through regulations, but I'll just be excited to actually go see the church family again. So
yeah. Well, you get hung up in some of these. I love church dinners. I love the potlucks. I love the
yeah,
fellowship, and kind of during this time, I've been missing a few things. I can't really pinpoint what it could be, but during this time, it's been a little difficult for me, and so I'm looking forward to some potluck dinners and 37 different desserts that I never knew existed until we went to one of them after church, and
yes.
I get to try a little bit every one of them. So looking forward, and it's even today, and I hope my wife's not watching yet. Hopefully she's still at work, but I ate French toast and bacon at Milo's this morning with a group of other people, and boy, that was good, and I enjoyed doing that. So hopefully she won't find out I ate French toast at Milo's without her. But
Well, I bet she will now. She'll probably go back and watch. So, but well, with all that's going on, let's talk a little bit about let's talk about the effects of the COVID on our city budget. What have you found out?
okay, so looking at the numbers from March, there's a lag, and so let me share that. So it takes us about 2 months before we can find out, right? So we are just seeing the March numbers. So it'll be June before we see the April numbers. Um, it's probably no surprise that for many businesses, April's going to be pretty tough. There's a lot of other other things that take place with that we never even considered. You and I were talking just briefly before we came on about the other effects of some of this. But so we're down about 6% from March's numbers of 2019. Not too bad, but remember things were just at the end of the month, and that's when we kind of the state of emergencies and all those things started happening and lockdowns. So April's going to be a pretty tough time. So we're trying to manage to get through June the 30th. June the 30th is the budget that we're currently under. And matter of fact, Monday night we'll do the first reading of our next year's budget that'll go into effect July 1st. It's about as bare bones as it gets. we've told the employees, listen, won't be any raises. The earliest we'll do any kind of raises would be January 1, depending on what the economy looks like and where revenues begin. And I've tried to be as honest with all the employees as I can. I said, listen, my promise to them is work as hard as we can to ensure that you have a job and benefits. The last possible thing I ever want to do is lay anybody off. But we're at the mercy of the numbers, sales tax numbers, different fees, things that come in along the way. We were talking about utilities. When we start having manufacturers that are not working, we have less income coming in for water, sewer, natural gas, and those things. So we're watching that. I just looked at some numbers today, jotted a couple things down here. So the governor just spoke at 3 o'clock. So unemployment across the state of Tennessee is 14.7%. Think about this. The numbers that were released in March, Sumner County had a 3% unemployment rate. And that was pretty common across the state of Tennessee. And in a matter of a few short weeks, the state of Tennessee is at 14.7. Sevier County is at 29.5% unemployment. Now, think about that for a minute. 30% unemployment for that one county. And you know, it's heavy tourism, retail, shopping, very devastating for them. So this is a statewide effect for us. My understanding, the governor says, so they go into session Monday. They've already in committee meetings in the state. They're looking to trim 12% out of the budget they just passed before they left session. The trickle down effect of that, we'll see what that looks like, because they're talking about hitting every department. I think people not traveling for 2 months is going to have a pretty serious effect that we don't ever consider, and that's the gas tax. And so if we're not buying fuel, remember, gas tax is what paves the roads, and the way they disperse that is based on population. And so as long as you buy your gas in the state of Tennessee, you're helping out your state, and then they disperse that out based on population of each community. The city of Portland needs that. We use that to pave roads and things of that nature. That 2.5 months reduced travel could have a very negative impact in multiple ways. TDOT's budget, I've got a feeling, is going to be hit hard. That means projects could slow down. We've got a big one that they were supposed to start buying right-of-way in May of this year for our bypass. Hasn't happened. Matter of fact, the meeting the other day, is my understanding that now maybe the earliest they'll do that is maybe September. I think you're going to see a lot of projects slowed down. Maybe some projects to be removed. Depends on the funding. It also depends on federal government's going to come in with the Federal Highway Department and shore up these states on losses. I don't know what that looks like. We're talking big money here. And so I know that the House has presented, the federal House has presented a $3 trillion plan. A lot of stuff that don't mean nothing in it that shouldn't be in there, but the Senate's going to be working on a plan. I don't know what they're planning on shoring up as far as cities, counties, states. We're going to see some cities, counties, and states that were already on the edge of collapse be financially unstable. For us in the city of Portland, we're fortunate that the last few years, what we've been doing is that we look at the projections, we look at the last years, we look at where we're going economy, and we underestimate revenues, keep our budget numbers to match that. And then toward the end of the year, as we expect the numbers to excel everything we've done, that's when we try to do some spending. We wait till the money comes in, and then we go buy the equipment. Unfortunately, some cities and counties and states, what they do, they let's just say overinflate their revenue numbers, then make their spending match that, and then they're in debt at the end. We've been fortunate. And even if we have a serious downturn, and I was just talking to Doug Yakel, our finance director, today, even if we have some serious results from April and May, right now, unless they exceed some of our estimates, we're still going to be able to meet our numbers. And so that's a good thing. We'll see how it turns out, but it's going to have an effect on some things. Swimming pool, for instance, the new guidelines have come out for swimming pools. Really can't meet those guidelines in the city of Portland. There's a couple factors. If you wanted new lifeguards, you can't get them certified. There's no place to get them certified at. They gave an extension to the lifeguards who got their license last year to extend it a year. That's positive. But if they want us to monitor social distancing, we can't do that. That requires extra staff. They want you to wipe down the chairs when somebody gets up and down. So you're talking about paying more people than you normally pay. We're not expecting the traffic that what you would have had. We think people are staying home. I'll tell you, for instance, all of last year, we issued 19 pool permits in the city of Portland. As of right now, we've already issued 22. So we've already exceeded last year's numbers right now. People are going to stay home. They're not going to come to the pools. The revenue would be down. If we don't open up our swimming pool, and it's looking like we're not going to, because it's just not adding up. I don't think we can meet the guidelines that they're asking us to do. It'll save us a total of about $47,000, about $23,000 in this year's budget, and then about $24,000 in next year's budget by not opening the pool. I grew up in that thing. I sold vegetables on 109, took my money, rode my bicycle to that swimming pool right out here at Richland. And I would stay in that thing every time I had a few quarters in my pocket, and I'd ride my bicycle. So I know that it's a great opportunity for people to get out of the house, especially for kids. They do not want unsupervised minors at these pools. Usually the way our pool works, I mean, parents come by and they drop their kids off, or kids walk, ride their bicycle like I did. And they hang out there all day and they socialize. They don't want none of that to happen. I just don't know how we would manage that. So those effects, saving some money where we can. We're not hiring right now. We've pulled that back, holding back on purchases. And let me share this with you about our city employees just for a minute. They've done a great job early on. When I came into office in December of 2018, I had a vision of redoing how we did overtime in the city of Portland. I wanted to come at it in a new way, but it takes buy-in from everybody. So the first 6 months, we implemented some things, we changed some stuff. We started seeing the benefits of that in the last half of 2019. That's carried over into this year. We've seen a dramatic increase. We've saved over $100,000 in overtime alone. But the employees bought into it. We were able to start raising the level of pay, reducing the hours they worked, still try to help them out with what they were carrying home. And the philosophy was, if you can spend more time with your family, we can raise your pay and start cutting out some other costs to where at the end of it, we've netted better for the city. And life for you is actually better because you got more time with your family. It's a win-win. And they've really bought into that. The department heads have bought into it. And so we've made a change. I'm so glad we did that. So I was just thinking about the extra savings for us. I never was thinking about a pandemic, of course, right? But having those things already in place has really shown us what we're able to do. So it's going to be tough. We're going to ride it for a little bit. We're going to see. I'll give you an example. We had our ECC committee meeting yesterday down at the county. I've been promoting a new budget for them because the pay scale down there is below what the market is, and we're not keeping good employees at the dispatch center. And so what we're ended up doing, we're kind of training them, then they're going off somewhere else and making more money. And it's keeping us in a hole. We've been in a hole on the number of employees down there. And we're trying to turn this thing around. Remember, it was kind of ugly down there. And we brought in a new director. She's doing a fabulous job, and we're trying to get this thing going in the right direction. So I was proponent of raising salaries. Well, we put this all together, right, in February. But I'm still a proponent on it, and we voted yesterday, and the motion I made was I want to promote this budget that does these wages increase, but I want to hold off on the increases for a few months until we can assess the economy going forward. So it's a good managerial move. We're doing that in the city of Portland. We're looking at possible raises. They're not going to, earliest we'll figure that out is January 1. I said the same thing for the ECC. And so the other mayors come along with me. That's the budget that we voted on. It's an increase for all of our cities, and it's going to be tough for us, but we seen the value in making sure we had an emergency dispatch that was functioning, that had qualified, trained people there. And these are tough decisions that we're all trying to make along the way.
Well, I think that the city of Portland had some of those same issues with our police officer pay. You know, we had to do the same thing in order to keep our good officers and help with that. And I think that in doing that, you have been able to make some changes and to get keep some employees.
We really have, and we lost a couple of key ones here recently, and I just told them good luck. They're going in their own businesses. And so I said, listen, I'm all for you. You know, I never want to begrudge anybody that's going to better themselves. I hate to lose them. They were great officers. But we still got a steady stream of people that wants to work in the city of Portland, wants to work in this police department. I appreciate the council so much for, I come to them asking for another $75,000 after the budget was passed last year so I could shore up the police department because we just couldn't even get applications. And we did a new system of pay in our department. There used to be a time many years ago where the city of Portland was one of the higher paid departments and people wanted to work here. And then that flip-flopped and it just started going downhill. And so we've got to come back and we've got to compete. There's only so many certified officers that live in our area. And so you want to make sure you're attractive for them. So we just bringing on a couple of new ones. We've got some more that's reached out to us. We could hire probably 3 more right now. We're going to hold off just for a little bit. So I talked to the chief this week. We needed a couple to kind of shore up a couple of things. We're taking care of that. We're going to hold off. We're taking their information and seeing where they are and letting them know we're going to evaluate. But I don't want to put the city in a bind. And as I said, the last thing I want to do is do a bunch of hiring, give out raises, and then you turn around and lay people off. That wouldn't make any sense. So I want to be very prudent. I want to go forward and let's look at the economy. Let's see where we're going. I'm optimistic, but at the same time, the numbers matter to me. And I want to see where we're going to go. I think we'll have a better handle on it, I think, by October and figure out where this country's going, where this state's going, where this county's going. Sumner County is one of the most vibrant counties in the state of Tennessee. The county, as you know, did a big property tax increase last year. They're doing big building projects with schools. And then this thing happened. So it's going to have an effect on them as well. And the sales tax for us works. We get 49% of the local sales tax dollars. 51% goes to the county. Really 50%, 1% of that's admin. And I was kind of looking, so my wife's calling, so that means that's the good news. Hopefully she didn't see me talk about eating French toast this morning, so I don't know if that's why she's calling me or not.
Or asking for cake.
Or asking for cake, and just in case she was wondering. But she may be stopping at the farmer's market. I don't know if I need anything, and it's going well over there today, and we're hoping the rain holds off long enough for them to. So it's a long way around to say this. The city of Portland has positioned itself well. The way we budget, we position ourselves well with our rainy day fund. And as I've been telling everybody, it's raining. So that's why it's there. I had visions of grandeur that we would be, during this term, I was really hoping to push that thing up a couple more million because disasters can take place and you'd wish you had that money. But now's the time if we need to use it. last thing I want to do is any kind of tax increase or anything like that. So
Well, and we are fortunate, because, as you know, when you were on the council, you guys worked hard to actually build that fund, because Mayor Wilbur and the council came in and had a deficit, and you were struggling. So you guys worked really hard to get you where you are today.
Yeah, I remember Tim Coker and myself served together. We worked on a little plan for a rainy day fund. And we'd set a little goal. I'll never forget. We thought it was maybe achievable, maybe a little optimistic. And I remember we had set this $1.5 million threshold. And we're like, boy, if we could make that by that year, we'd be doing something. And because we were operating with less than $500,000 in a rainy day fund. And so, it makes it difficult.
Well, again, it is good to always have those funds and always have some money to fall back on when you need it. You hate to dip into it, but we are fortunate that we do have some when during this pandemic, when everything is going on. So I do.
Hang on just a second. I know we're doing live here, and but let me answer a real question.
You can mute it.
Let me jump off the thing real quick.
Okay, so he's going to go away for a minute, but let's we'll talk a little bit about the things that the chamber has going on. We have some events planned that we still are not sure how many of those we'll be able to have. We are looking Music on Main. We have scheduled for June 11th. At this time, the council will make a decision on Monday whether we will be able to move forward with that. If not, then we're looking to put that to the end of the concert series. So maybe in the form of a fall event, maybe a fall festival, possibly, and to have things going on as well. So we will have more information on the June Music on Main on Monday. So once the council meets and we decide, we'll see where we go with that. Who's playing? If we are able to have it, it is Biz and Everyday People will be who's playing on June 11th. If not, again, we're hoping to book them towards the end if we have to reschedule that. Welcome back.
Sorry, the city continues to function, and so matter of fact, we had to figure out something about our upcoming budget meetings, and we had to make a determination on some advertising there. But listen, I was jotting a few things down. Could you imagine? Let's think about this for a minute. Could you imagine you just passed a budget in the state of Tennessee, and 2 months later you got to come back and cut 12% out of what you just passed? And we're going to make some hard decisions. I told our council the other day, I said, maybe nonprofits are not getting the money they're used to getting. We set aside 1% of our budget, and nonprofits and other places depend on that. They budget the amount that they're hopeful to get, and that may not be a reality. And so just as we're trying to save $47,000 maybe at a swimming pool, we may have to figure out to trim $50,000, $60,000 in other places that are not pretty. And we may have to trim tens of thousands in other areas. And those are tough decisions. And when you start weighing these things out and you say, well, that's worthy, that's worthy, that's worthy. They're all worthy. But at the end of the day, you got to cut something.
Well, and I think that a lot of this goes back to also what people in their personal budgets have had to do. If they've experienced a loss of funds from there, so it's not any different when you're dealing with a business or a city, which the city is a business, and so I feel like that understanding these are hard decisions that people have to make.
It is, and there's so many worthy things, isn't it? And you hate to go to somebody and say, I cut yours and I didn't cut theirs. And it's not that theirs is worth more than yours, but you have to make some decisions, right? And these things are tough. I was out at the library earlier today, and and our new librarian, of course, Sally Ream, and so talking to her, talk about why these issues are big. Our hope was to have an in-person meeting June the 22nd for the second reading of the budget. I miss in-person meetings. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like the feel of everybody being in the room. I can read body languages. I can kind of get a feel for what's happening. Kind of hard to do it on video screens, right? It's kind of hard to figure that out. And so they've got a little issue going out there because of this COVID-19. They've restructured how they're operating the library. And one of the things they're doing, the room that we had set up our council meetings in, because our city hall's under construction, so we're kind of homeless. We're nomads right now. They're using that as the quarantine room for books and those things. They've got a UV light ordered to come to disinfect these things. It's been on order for a couple of months, hadn't showed up yet. They're like, how are we going to do this? And I said, it's okay. We still have the option to do electronic meeting on the second meeting of this month of June. I think it's hard for me to imagine the governor will extend executive order number 16 for electronic meetings past June. I think that's kind of hard for me to grasp that right now. I got a feeling that's going to fade on June the 30th, and we've got to come back together. So we're looking at other options for us where we can meet and what we can do, and in case we can't meet at the library. So this thing affects so many different facets of life that we found. And, early on, we were like, we hope the hospitals are not overrun. We don't have enough PPE. The world was buying the exact same product. We couldn't get a hold of anything. That's changed quickly. I'll tell you something that's positive. EMA reached out the other day. We've sent them 4. I shared it with Sherry and shared it with our economic development, Denise Commendon, as well. I know she found a couple of places and sent that over. Find out they're looking for warehouse space for PPE. So now it's starting to come online. FEMA's wanting to stack this up because if there is a second wave or a difficulty during flu season, make sure now that we're all stacking this stuff up, right? And so things are changing quickly. We'll see where we go, but man, it's been it's been interesting. I'm watching a thing scroll across the bottom of the screen. It says, comment for a chance to win 2 meals from Senior Fajitas.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, we have.
So, I just made a comment. How's that work?
Well, you might not be eligible this time since you are our guest, but we can send cake. We have wanted to support our local businesses as they've all been struggling. So every week we've been picking a business to actually give away tickets. We have several comments on here. We have one asking a question. Any update on the new city hall? They occasionally drive by to see what's up with the new construction. So let's
Absolutely. That's a good spot. It's actually on target. And so all those guys have been, all these different crews, there's multiple subcontractors out there working all at the same time.
I see all the cars, so I know that there's been a lot over there going on.
They're good. And so it's on track.
I can't wait to see the finished product. I know with the plans and everything that, if people had visited City Hall, they realized that it was all cut up. It was a maze. When you went, you went to all kinds of different directions. And I know for a long time, even the restroom, women's restroom in one of them, the water didn't work. So the first time I went, I used that. I thought, well, it was frozen because it was winter and it was cold out, but it was frozen in the summer too.
Oh yeah, it didn't. And so when I came into the office, I called the plumber over there and I said, listen, we got to figure out to get at least a sink over here running. But no, it's exciting. That's the old part of the building. So that particular area that was built in the early 70s. The newer part, the other end of addition, was built in the mid 90s. So you can imagine the older part was not up to code. Today's standards, ADA, security, didn't even really have security stuff for the 90s remodel in the back, that addition. So we're upgrading that. We're going to add a whole bunch of parking. We're excited. Probably the downside, hindsight's 2020. Of course, if we would have presented a city council building that we added X number of square footage so everybody could have 6 foot distancing, they told us we was crazy.
Yeah,
can't do that. But now everybody's trying to figure out how do you build buildings and do that in case you need to do 6 foot distancing. So, schoolrooms are not built for that. And so, how do you spread students out and all that kind of stuff? So, but it's going on track. We're doing more drainage in the back of that area. I said I don't think there's a project in the city of Portland that has more drainage in a small area that's being put in the ground than I've seen in a long time. So they've got a big plan over there. They're going to be redirecting High Street. High Street will come and it will turn back behind City Hall and it will go out on South Russell. High Street in front that you see now will be a one-way entrance going, and then we'll have a road built back behind the Temple Theater and all that kind of stuff, adding a bunch of parking. We're excited, looking forward to some new space, new council chambers, new bathrooms that all work and all that kind of stuff, and some security measures in place, which is much needed there. But no, it's on track. I'm excited. Hey, real quick, just kind of come to mind, if you'll remind me. So you're giving away, I keep seeing it's making me hungry. I keep seeing this thing scroll about Senior Fajitas, but we'll throw in a couple of golf passes.
Okay.
So 2 of them, 4 people per pass with a cart. How's that? And we'll get you to hook up with Jamie, and he'll get you taken care of. You can give that away to get somebody out of their golf course. Them guys done a great job out there, man. They kind of took it over. It looked rough when we took it over, and boy, they've done an amazing job out there.
They have. I have seen a lot of great comments on it, and I know that I have really been watching on Saturdays when it's not raining the number of cars since you were able to open that up. So I know that it's being utilized, and people are very thankful to have it and to keep it here.
We do tea times, and so this is something that our park director Jamie White said, if we're going to open, we probably need to do tea times. And so we've limited access to the clubhouse and those things. And they fixed up a little area around back that you can go in. But the tea times have worked well. In fact, so well that I think Jamie wants to continue those as we go forward, because they can manage and know where people are, where they're coming, and how they do all that. And so they can just line everybody up, and we can manage that along the way. So once again, something good that come out of this difficult situation. They just seen something that worked well that they can continue to do even after we kind of get past. Hopefully, we'll get past COVID-19 or the coronavirus. So we'll see.
Well, and we always have a golf tournament. We have our larger golf tournament where our city course does not hold that. We hold at Kenny Perry's, and we had to cancel that in May. So hopefully we'll be able to have that golf tournament. But we also always have our fall one out at the city course. So hopefully by October we will be ready to be a little closer and be able to have our golf tournament out there as well. So
yeah, I do too. And like I say, but I good kudos to them, how they've really managed that, and they took it on as a just very personal. And they said, we're going to make this thing work. We're going to improve the greens out there. We're going to do what it takes. Matter of fact, we were just talking with a couple of people earlier today. We're still trying to figure out how to manage what to do with the swimming pool there. Remember, the swimming pool is older than the one at Richland. It would be astronomical to rip that up and put a swimming pool back. I just don't think it's feasible for the city. But there's been some good ideas. Jamie has said, that could make a great rental area that we fill in the area. It's fenced in, maybe a little playground. We put the shade things up like we do at the dog park, and we put around the park system where people could come maybe rent that, hold birthday parties and do all that, have a great view out there, like I say, be in a fenced in area. So we've been tossing some things around. We've even talked about a putt-putt golf course inside that area. But trying to find a way to utilize that, but to be cost effective. swimming pools are so expensive to operate, and man, when they tear up or when something happens, it's not cheap. And that's the reason why you see communities moving away from them and not wanting to build new ones, by the way. And, we talk about splash pads and they sound good. And then you talk to those communities who built one and like, we wish we might not have built that thing, because of the cost and the maintenance. And then you have the bacteria issues that a lot of them have struggled with, how to manage that. So no good answer on some of that, but we're looking at an opportunity that brings good value to it. There's a lot of things that you can do, but the price tags go through the roof. So what's the best value and the best use of it? So
well, and you notice that there are not cities putting in new pools. They're not doing it because, number one, the cost of the lifeguards and the manning of it in itself, and difficulty finding. When we were growing up, it was an honor to be a lifeguard because you got to sit out there and get your tan and earn a little bit of money and do the things you needed to do there. But now it's hard to find people that will be a lifeguard.
It's been a struggle for us in our community over the last few years. I was the kid that was doing his best. I would cannonball off a high dive and would get as close to the curbing as we could so we could splash the lifeguard in the seats. And we probably ran a few off. I don't have no idea. But your insurance carriers in the cities, they hate pools. And, we're grandfathered in on our high dive. You wouldn't be able to put that up.
No.
And but the insurance carriers are like, shut it down. If we give you a record, every year they access your stuff. We really want you to shut the pool down. I mean, that's where they are. I get it because of liability issues out there. I mean, we removed some playground equipment that I played on as a kid that was out at Meadowbrook. I mean, you get out there on some MO slides and you'd spin around. I thought it was great. And then some insurance guy was like, "Hey, you'll lose an arm or a leg. Remove that." I'm like, okay, I get it. But always taking the fun out of it, But
somebody mentions that they need some work around the football field at Richland. Concession stand needs to be torn down and rebuilt for safety concerns. So that might be something you look at. I don't know what they're talking about.
I'm not either. That one, unfortunately. So,
but
they're talking about the Portland youth football section. I mean, so that organization, usually we partner with them on some stuff. They had wanted a new facility over there, but once again, that cost money.
Well, we saw how much it cost to just build a bathroom.
Well, we had thought we were going to be able to move forward, partner with someone about that, and it turns out that wasn't really a viable option. It didn't work out. But the park staff went out there and I think upgraded a little bit. That facility, that particular building, it could probably use a new one, but once again, that's money there. But our staff, we have a small staff in reality to the number of acres that we have and what they do. Yes. They do a great job. And,
they do.
So they'd probably tell you they could use a few more hands and equipment, and but they make do with little, to be honest with you. They do a great job.
And they are very positive. They're always in a good mood every time. I do miss seeing them. Through all this pandemic, I've not been able to see as many city employees. Of course, we've not been doing the events, so, talking with them. And so I have missed seeing all of them out and about. So hopefully when this all gets a little bit better, we'll be able to gather again and we'll get to see them and catch up.
Well, so last year we held a couple of employee dinners, and it's something I wanted to do because I think they build camaraderie. You get to meet each other. We did a cookout last year, and we held our first Christmas dinner that went really well, and you guys helped us tremendously by reaching out and we gave out a lot of great prizes that people just donated. We handed that out. It was a great event. And so this year we had planned on holding 3 events. We'd already scheduled it. And so we were just going to spread out the year and hold 3 different opportunities to hold a dinner whether it was a cookout or whatever it may be, and then do it. Of course, this has kind of put a stranglehold on everything. And so I'm hoping that things will continue to improve so we can bring our employees back together. We have about 160 employees. So it's really easy, even in a small town like Portland. You not know each employee. You may pass them, you may see them, but you don't know them. And having those moments to get together, because we are one team. We have different departments, but we're one team. And so that's been kind of a bummer for me, because I like opportunities to get people together to know one another. So we'll see how that go forward. So.
Well, I think we have a great city. Employees, like I say, I work with a lot of them on a lot of different things.
Well, I'm looking at the comments here, and so somebody talked about the tennis courts. Well, tennis courts are a couple of things going on. People don't use them that often anymore. We need to build new ones. We had plans at one time to build a forecourt over at Richland, and then couldn't get the money. And we were talking about how to build two there. And Michael Carter was talking about here about the tennis courts PHS. Well, I approached the school board and said, hey, how do we partner? And you put in some money, we'll put up some money, we'll build some tennis courts. And they didn't want to put any money up, so it made it difficult. We were trying to find an option to make it happen, you know. And so we're all for offering amenities. But one option we have right now, because those actual courts there need to be dug up completely and redone, we just thought about maybe carrying them to maybe sand volleyball and fixing up an area there, because tennis has not been as widely used a lot of places anymore in the way it was. We see that's cyclical. We see that on age groups of certain sports. We went through a transformation of ball fields a few years ago. We changed ball fields on what ages would use them, because we found certain ages they just wasn't signing up. Leagues weren't playing in certain age groups. So we reoriented and tried to fit some age groups. So it's cyclical, and maybe one day tennis will be more popular than it is now, but it's all about money, unfortunately.
And a tennis court, amazingly, is very expensive to build. So
yeah, and they require maintenance and all that. I know somebody was asking me about expanding the skate park. It took me a few years to get the skate park out there. And I know it's not the biggest, but it is a skate park, and kids still use it. So we could always improve on stuff, no doubt about that, but we'll do our best. So.
Well, and I think we have a good variety of things. When you look at the bike trail, you look at the walking tracks, you look at the ball, we have a good variety. You're not going to have one thing that everybody's going to use, but if you have multiple things in a small scale, then hopefully we have something for everybody.
Yeah, we was hoping, we looked at the Frisbee golf. I was hoping to maybe bring a Frisbee golf course to the city of Portland. And that became kind of a popular thing. But once again, getting some money together, laying and having a spot to do that. We've got a lot of things we're trying. So we've got the Robert Coleman building that's, we've hit some snags on. We started opening that building up and realized that building was built in 1915. We want to keep it. It's historical. It's been used for generations in the city of Portland by families. But it's going to cost a bunch of money to fix. So right now, step one is we're having to get an engineered plan. There's a lot of things out there about mechanical, electrical, structural that we're working on. So we got to make sure we get that right. Then we'll figure out what the cost is to do it. We want to do some upgrades to Riston Gym. That gym's old. It needs air conditioning. So you can hold year-round events in it. That's probably $65,000 to put air conditioning on that gym. And so, we got a lot of things that we want to do, but then we put it in scale of budgets. Sometimes they just don't make the cut because we're trying to manage what we have with as little as possible. And that's how we've been able to build our rainy day fund for emergencies like we're finding ourselves now in COVID-19. If we would have continued down the road of spending on all these things, we wouldn't have had a rainy day fund. Could have put us in jeopardy today. So,
Well, and I do want to commend the Parks Department on keeping up all the facilities that they do and the job that they do. Again, we've added a lot of territory to what they are keeping up, and they're just, again, doing a great job. The golf course.
What are we got now? It's over 300 acres.
Yeah.
Of total parks land, and we get people from other communities come in. They'll go at Richland and say, "Wow, this is really nice over here," And so we added 80 more acres. And I know that when we voted to buy the golf course, Jamie was like, "Okay, 80 more acres to mow like twice a week, right?" And but they do a good job. And Jeff Menace is out there overseeing that as well. He used to work for the Parks Department for us for a few years, and so he's back out there. And all those guys, Josh Martin, they're doing a good job, and they it means something to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they take pride.
You can tell.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job. So
they are. So well, I do know we have a council meeting on Monday. It'll be via Zoom, so or GoToMeeting or whatever we do. So be voting on some budget. Any other things coming up on that meeting?
Yeah, we'll have some planning stuff on there as well. And one of the things that we were doing, Richard Donovan is our city planner. He does a great job for us. And we're glad to have him. And we brought on another person in that department, Keelan. And so we have 2 full-time and a part-time now working in planning, because the city of Portland is growing, a lot of interest coming in, and we're kind of raising the level of how we're dealing with stuff. But one of the things we realized is that a whole lot of these roads were never brought into the city limits. And so he's been going through all the deeds and all the annexations and finding the gaps. And so we have gaps where we go city limit, county, and he's brought all that together. He's been working on this project, so we're going to be adopting that, making sure all that's into the city the way it ought to be. Not necessarily the property that's on the side of the road. We just need the road to be inside the city. So that opens us up for a lot of things, whether it's police patrol and a lot of other things, to make sure there's continuity as we go through. Like I say, our employees are constantly in and out, even though it's in our zone. And so we're working on that, getting some of that stuff going. We're still getting a lot of interest for builders. Permits slowed dramatically in May. No doubt about that, but we're hopeful things are going to start picking up in June as far as projects that are ready to take off. We've got some interesting projects on the horizon that will be new for Portland, some multi-use projects. We'll see how that's going to come to be. We hope that'll be a nice project where one developer looks at a large section and does commercial, townhomes, individual, single residential. We'll see what that happens. That takes a lot of investment, a lot of time, but they're looking at the city of Portland. And just as well as anybody else, they were looking real hard at us right before the coronavirus hit. We had a lot of great prospects. We're still checking on the Crystals building. There was interest in buying that property, so we're still hopeful that that'll happen. We've seen what's happened to the Fred's building, and so they're moving forward out there with a chain exercise, and then relocating a business in town out there, splitting that space up. They've been remodeling that, looking forward to that to take place, and we'll see how it goes forward.
Well, I do appreciate you and all that you do and the employees do. We will be giving away your 2 golf passes for 4 with each of those passes. And help, he needs cake, just so you know. And then we'll
chocolate rich fudge icing. I mean, good stuff.
Okay, so chocolate is the fave, huh?
Oh, I love chocolate cake, and just Listen, and let me share this with you. This is important. Don't get this wrong. Don't mess this up. I don't want the fake icing. I don't want the fluffy whipped icing. I want the real buttercream, fudgy, real stuff. I mean, don't skimp on it. Come on, folks. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This is not the time to get skimpy on chocolate cake. Okay.
That's right. That's right. So, well, I do not like the icing you buy at the store. I do like the homemade icing with the butter and the powdered sugar and cocoa. That's my fave right there. So I'm with you. So, but well, again, we do appreciate you joining us and keeping everyone updated. And hopefully, we'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks. I'll try to have you on about every other week and kind of keep everything in line. But if you ever want to come on and just update with anything, you just let me know.
I appreciate that. I'm going to see if I can skip over here to the farmer's market. They'll be there to 7. And I was over there before 3:30, but they're not allowed to sell until 3:30. And the last thing I need to do is be caught on video buying a strawberry fried pie from Big Al before 3:30. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back, okay?
Yes, you were really looking for that bread, though, I know.
I know it. I don't know if they showed up or not. I love that sourdough bread. It's good stuff.
Me too. Me too. And if you get that raisin bread and you slice it, put a little butter on it, and toast it in the oven, it's good.
You know what? Raisins, it creates nightmares for me. It's like you ever picked up a raisin cookie, swearing it was chocolate chip until you bit into it, your whole world's destroyed. And
yes.
I think that's a scheme of the devil. I'm not sure. So
yeah,
they have good products over there. A lot of good stuff.
They do. They do. So
big pop of popcorn from my wife. I don't know if she stopped over there or not. So I'll have to say she loves that stuff. So
me too. Me too. So all right. Well, you have a good weekend, and we will talk.